advocates whisper in the hall, where justice wears a mask and truth begins to fall. Every thread they pull, every lie they weave, in the courtroom's dance, who's left to believe? Oh, the devil's in the details, hiding in plain sight, innocent until the gavel steals the light. True crime echoes through the hollow night, fighting injustice with no end. The devil's in the details, hiding in plain sight, innocent until the gavel steals the light. True crime echoes through the hollow night, fighting injustice with no end in sight. A photograph fades where the truth once stood. Blurred lines between the bad and the good. The scales they tilt with every silver tongue, while the broken cry for a song unsung. Black robes sway like shadows on the wall. One wrong word and the mighty fall. Who's a sinner? Who's a saint? The jury's out, but the verdict's faint. Oh, the devil's in the details, hiding in plain sight, innocent until the gavel steals the light. True crime echoes through the hollow night, fighting injustice with no end. The devil's in the details, hiding in plain sight, innocent until the gavel steals the light. True crime echoes through the hollow night, fighting injustice with no end in sight.
Ladies and gentlemen, do you want to know why I'm here today? It's not because I want to give you a pep talk or because I want to make you feel good about yourselves. No, I'm here to tell you the truth.
Well, hello everybody. Wow, what a small little tiny crowd tonight. We're already heading into Thanksgiving week or what? Or just like we're flying by the seat of their pants, but wow, like super like little intimate crowd. By the way, great night for you to dial in with comments. I'm going to give you a link real quick since we're thinking about it. If you want to come up on the microphone and ask some questions or make some comments, this is a great night to do so. Since we don't have a big, huge house, we're in a huge panel. We've got several panelists that are going to be out tonight as well. So we have room on stage for extra people. So I encourage you to do so. Don't be shy. We've done it pretty successfully just recently. So hopefully we can do it again. I've got Robin backstage, co-producer of our show, and our law enforcement advisor consultant. I don't know, advisor wouldn't be the right word because we're not being advised on things that are legal in nature, but we are getting him in for consulting. And so he's backstage as well. So I think Joe from State of the Deep is going to be out today. I think SC's Crime Maze, Jason Estes is going to be out today. So again, we've got some panel spots open. Great opportunity for you to let us know you want to to come up and ask a question. Robin and I will pay attention to hopefully some more of the chat so that we can get those highlighted on screen if you don't want to take the microphone. But if you want to grab the microphone and or even a camera, you can click on that link, get yourself backstage. I'll recognize you. I'll let you know when we're about ready to bring you up on stage. You can choose to have your camera on or off and just have your microphone on so you can talk to us if you want. Essie, welcome to being the first into the show tonight. Diane Draper. I said Diane Draper. Welcome. Amanda B, as always. Thank you so much. Robin, of course, we talked about. Troubled Ocean from Florida. Welcome into the house again tonight. Just looking down some of our regulars. Penny from Idaho. Thanks for coming tonight. And we've got, I know we had somebody else in here. I saw several other people, but I'm just scrolling down through it. One got very chatty on here. So Amanda and one are all crazy, and I'm going through their list here. Oh, what is this one? DA Energy Star. That's a long ass word right there. I don't even know. Okay, I'm going to give up on it. But that's a long string of words. Hello, to long username. Maybe there needs to be some breaks in there for me to figure out where to break up the syllables on that one. But anyways, so good stuff. Thanks for seeing new people and new names. What else do we have? Anybody else in here? Cats Mojo, regular to the show. Thanks for coming in. I think we're almost. Oh, here we go. The Dahlia Lost. The Dahlia Lost. Interesting. Welcome. That's a new name. The Dolly 7596. Also, welcome to the show. And again, if you want to take the mic or if you want to ask a question, this is a great opportunity to do so. So let's talk a little bit about stuff. Let me get Robin up here and get one up here. Turn their microphones on. How are you guys doing tonight? Robin, how you doing?
Doing well, thank you. How about yourself?
I am super busy. Like it's one thing after another right now. I can't believe how busy I am. And by the way, I forgot to tell you, by the way, tomorrow I'm having a molar extracted because I have a cracked tooth and it needs to be pulled out. And then I got to later on schedule something to be put in its place or whatever to fix it. But I have no idea what kind of condition my condition is going to be in when it's tomorrow night's live show.
Could be fun.
It could be fun. You might have to do all the talking. I'm not sure. But anyway, super busy. By the way, as an exciting thing, I want to tell both of you, I was super excited. I don't want to say this. How do I say this in a way that doesn't sound like I'm trying to be arrogant? But remember, I went out to New York City, right? And I met one and I put boots on the ground in the Long Island serial killer case. And we drove Gilgo Beach and we did a lot of talking about that. And I met with attorney John Ray in his office and talked about, the case of Shannon Gilbert. And it was funny because John Ray had mentioned to me a bombshell in a way of new information in his office. And I said, oh my God, like I've never heard that before. And he goes, nobody's heard it before. It just happened. And I was like, oh, okay, can I talk about it? So I wasn't sure I could talk about it. So it's just kind of interesting because I just reached out to John Ray recently with an email saying, hey, just wanted to follow up on my visit to New York. Had a great time. You mentioned XYZ and said it had just happened. I've been waiting to find the actual news that I can talk about it. And he sent me a personal package of his legal filing along with the exhibits that go along with it and gave me a full package. And so I made a 2.5 hour video today breaking down the 911 call of Shannon Gilbert and John Ray's lawsuit going after Dr. Hackett about basically hampering the investigation into Shannon Gilbert. As John Ray said in his legal filing, or in his, he doesn't believe Hackett committed the murder, but he hampered the investigation, and that there's untruths being told by the Suffolk County Police Department. He wants people held accountable. There's no reason for them to hide behind the continual double speak of saying that it's an ongoing investigation and that they don't have to release information, and then saying that it was a tragic accident. So it's either an accident or it's an ongoing investigation. Which one is it? And a judge has granted well, basically what happened was John Ray had submitted basically a lawsuit against Hackett back in 2012. And Hackett had basically requested to block that lawsuit from going forward, saying it's not relevant, don't talk about it, this has no merit. And a judge finally has told John Ray, you may proceed with your lawsuit against Dr. Hackett. And so that's the big news. That just happened, that kind of proceed with your lawsuit against Hackett. And now that John Ray has been given permission to proceed with his lawsuit against Hackett, he's reapplying his request for all the documents, all the Suffolk Police Department's, police filings and investigation into Shannon Gilbert, because he's saying, look, this is now I have a legal reason to see all your files. I'm in a lawsuit now against Peter Hackett for hampering the investigation, so I must now see your paperwork. And so exciting. That's exciting, big news.
Wow.
I mean, you've been watching the case for a long time. I think one has as well. Like both of you are Lisk guys.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So you know what kind of implications this can have.
Wow. That's just
Crazy.
Amazingly.
I'm pretty stoked. Like, again, the trial of Rex Heuermann isn't going to touch that stuff, but John Ray is indirectly going to rip, as I say, he's going to rip a hole in the side of this trial, because that related side case of Shannon Gilbert, the whole reason why we found the Gilgo 4, right, was in the search of Shannon Gilbert. They're trying to say it's unrelated to Rex Heuermann, but we know that Shannon Gilbert, at least there's an affidavit given to John Ray that Rex Heuermann and Shannon Gilbert had met before, so they have a relationship. So was he there that night that she disappeared? They're saying no, but we'll see.
Right. Well, that video you did today is just incredible. So I'm going to link to it.
I was pretty excited about it, but I realized I had no idea it was going to go 2 hours. Like I got done talking at 2 hours and 10 minutes, and the 911 call that I wanted to include the entirety of the 911 call. That was an exhibit in the filing. That entirety of that 911 call was 23 minutes in itself, but I wanted to give that to people to be able to hear the entire call, because again, what I demonstrated on that video, as you know, was what they released to the public was a shortened, cut down version of the 911 call that basically supported their narrative. And so I wanted to be able to have people be able to see what the actual 911 call sounded like versus what they cut down to try to paint to support their narrative. And so interesting stuff. As you know, I call out several areas in there where it appears that Gus Coletti is flat out lying about what happened when Shannon came and knocked on his door. Some real bombshell kind of stuff, as you know. So I know that a lot of people follow this channel for Idaho 4, so we will talk Idaho 4. In fact, let me tell you what else happened. By the way, I didn't even get a chance to say 1-1. 1-1, let's talk personal for a moment before I get into Idaho 4. How you doing?
How are you doing? Hi, Robin. Hi, Lee.
Hey.
Great to be here in the den. Hello, everyone. Live from New York. It's Tuesday night.
It's funny. I just realized I had gone to a more neutral banner with the well, what I'm going to talk about next. I had gone with a more neutral banner. I want to put my old banner. Look at that. That's my old banner back up here. I forgot to put my wallpaper up behind me. So good to see you again. And I'm glad that my panelists are here. And again, I want to encourage you guys to get queued up with questions from the peanut gallery, if you will, from the chat. We'll try to get you up on stage if you're willing to be brave enough. If not, let's pin some comments and talk about some stuff. But we were discussing Lisk. Let's talk about Idaho 4, because I know a lot of you who come to this channel come for Idaho 4. I told you that I was super, super busy. So
yeah,
I've been keeping it on the down low a little bit. But the Custody Queens, who have been on with Birdie before on this show, the Custody Queens had reached out to me a while ago asking if we could do a collaboration together. And we did stop, collaborate, and listen, and did a little bit of a 2 hour and 20-minute recording with the Custody Queens. I swear, I'm not trying to stretch all my videos to 2 hours now. It just happened. We had a very, very good conversation. Again, for those who are not super familiar with the Custody Queens, they're two custody attorneys in California. Great ladies. They're great at law. I got waxing along with them about legal issues. They really wanted to kind of talk about the footage, some new footage that I got from Moscow, Idaho, when I went with my wife to Moscow just recently. And they said, hey, look, can we talk about the video you aired with Birdie, which was a nighttime drive? And I said, not only can we talk about the nighttime drive, but I got brand new daytime footage that you got to see, and let's do it live together for your live reaction. So we did that. But we couldn't get off talking about the law. We got so talking about the legal issues and how Ann Taylor did and how Hippler did and what our thoughts were about the official story. There was a lot of legal discussion, but we did get to some teaser video. So I want to show you guys, if you're willing, to give you some teasers of some of those clips of me and the Custody Queens today. And hopefully, the audio is a little hot. Like my microphone's a little hot compared to them. So I got some editing to do in the final version, but this is a raw look at the Custody Queens and I reviewing the daytime footage that, aside from my production team, hasn't seen, right? This is footage nobody's seen except for Robin and 1-1, I think. So you're not going to see the full daytime footage, but you'll get to see some of it here, and you get to see the custody queen's live reaction to that, as well as a little legal discussion at the end between the custody queens and I on issues about the plea deal, why Brian Koberger pled guilty, and what situations could overturn this plea deal in an appellate court. And we talked a little bit about that from a legal perspective, which was a little bit interesting. So I'm going to give you maybe 10 minutes or so of clips in a 2-hour and 20-minute interview. So let's see if we can pull that up on stage.
We're going to immediately turn into Queen Road. We're going to look right at 1112.
Let's see. That's the wrong video. Let's remove that. Hold on. You're probably hearing one thing and seeing another. Let me remove this. No, okay, that's the right video on screen. Let me put it full screen without us on screen, because it's going to get confusing with the three of us watching the video and then the three of us here tonight on the same screen. So let's try this again. Are you ready? Let's see if we can go.
Ready.
We're going to immediately turn into Queen Road. We're going to look
Do you hear
right
it?
at 1112, which is the house
Yeah.
that caught the Hyundai Elantra a bunch of times. This greenhouse off to my right.
So again, this off to the right-hand side is that greenhouse. That's the greenhouse you see a lot in the footage that when the Elantra is coming and going from Queen. So he'd be turning on to the white Elantra would be turning onto the Queen Road, and you'd see that greenhouse in the distance behind it as it's turning, and it's caught by that 1112.
None of these neighbors that they saw or heard any of this.
That's impossible for me.
That's right. When you see it so close together, it's like
Do you
Yeah.
think it's even possible that they even came close to talking to the amount of residents that were there that night?
Yeah, I don't think they properly canvassed the area. I don't think, I feel, I say it all the time, kind of tongue in cheek, but that you don't ask questions you already know the answers to. I just feel like they already kind of knew something that happened and they didn't ask a lot of the questions that you should have asked. That's my gut.
Especially
instinct.
though with such a college town. I mean, I wasn't in a sorority, but Kristen and I both played soccer. And I mean, when you're living in like a 2-bedroom apartment and there's 4 of you, like there's so many potential people that could have heard this, even if it's very dark out.
And think about the rumors that are out there about gunshots. If they were shot in the house, there would have been, as we have a law enforcement advisor or a consultant on the show, right? And he says there would have been 1 million calls to 911 if they had been shot in the
all
house.
of these people around that would have heard it.
Yeah, everybody would have heard the gunshots.
No doubt.
And that's what Kaylee's mom had initially reported that she had heard from.
Right, like right. She said
that Kaylee had been shot.
That stunned me when I first heard that. We got the call that everybody had been shot, and I'm like, "What? A shot? Where did that come from?"
Yeah, I went back and I watched somebody's very early video. I can't remember who it was, but they were like, I think it was at the press release. They said they had cleared 90 people within like 24 hours of the murders or something like that. And I was like, okay, does clearing someone basically just ask for their name and their phone number and hey, you didn't do it, right? Because there's no way
even Steve Gonzalez complained that they ruled people out too quickly in this case.
Well, that's what Sam and I think is one of the biggest problems of this case is everyone should have been considered a suspect until proven otherwise. It should have come from that mindset.
Right. And I've been critical about how they don't separate all the kids. They come out on a murder scene and you don't separate everybody and take independent statements from them to make sure their statements match. You let them mingle and tell it they're each like the whole thing was a piss. And some people chalk it up. Well, it's a small town. They don't know how to handle big murder scenes or whatever. But like it's 101. You separate everyone and you treat them as if they're a potential suspect. And
but isn't that also the point? You guys don't know what you're doing. So I'm doubtful that you did the right thing.
Right.
Or
Yeah.
that
Right.
you collected the right anything. Like,
right.
Great. You guys are in over your head. Clearly.
Right. And did you just make the evidence fit because you needed to get somebody?
Right.
Yeah. And did you see that video when they went after the body cams of when they first got to the enforcement and they brought them back to the police station? And there's like 15 of them, sitting in the waiting room, all one after another. And then they walk up the stairs, single filed, one after another. They weren't separated from what we can tell from anything in that video. And how long you sitting there for 3-4 hours? Your story changes.
And they were kept in the same hotel room together overnight to continue.
Now I didn't know that they were all placed in the same hotel. That was pretty wild.
Yeah.
Years ago, I'm not sure that car ever moves. Anyways, this is the house location immediately to the right where the house was. It's been torn down.
So that's where the lot is, where the house has been torn down. And so you can see there's a chain across there, so you can't drive into it, but you could walk into it easy.
So that's where all
behind the house.
The alleged blood coming out of the house and the foundation. It was from that side right there.
Yep. And so look at how close the Queen apartments are. and there's a walkway, like I said, that dumps right into that lot. You're going to see it really well here in a minute.
Where the killer allegedly went and parked. Molly McMichaels also said when she was delivering the food, she came up here behind the house. It told her to walk down behind the slope into the back of the house, which we will get some footage on the ground with that.
This is where they think they saw 100
Super tight,
right?
as I always say.
Now, what was that? 100 shape and do what?
I think they said that his car was there at some point, either the early morning.
I think they said he was parked out front of the house. So when we go by the front, I think he was parked in the front parking lot, I think.
That the killer would have supposally parked to be looking right in the back.
But that again is looking
house
right down into
there.
the slope.
Some alleged
going
could
into
have seen
the
when
house
they went
has
to
been
bed and
torn
turned the
down.
lights off. It would have been a good location, and I'll grant that is a good location to see when people are going to bed in the house. Covered by trees, so your approach to the house will be covered.
Are you gonna park here?
No, we're gonna go park somewhere else and walk around, I think. You want to walk from here?
Why not?
And I think they said one of
My wife's fucking got balls of fucking
areas you
steel.
could see into Maddie's, like you could see into her window and watch her.
Sure.
Put her, like it was so close you could see her putting on her mascara.
For sure, yeah, and we'll park here.
Fuck it,
We'll
we'll do
see
it live.
Wait.
Rhonda's gonna fucking have me park right behind the fucking murder scene and fucking
I mean, we're
walk.
right here.
Mary, I'm
I was trying to
dropping
be in the
F-bombs
street.
like they're going out of style.
You're not in the street for
It's a
shit.
cool experience when you're there.
Right?
I
Yeah,
love
that's
it.
what my wife's like, park right here. And I'm like, are you kidding? She's like, park right here. I'm like, oh, okay.
We're gonna do it. We're
Yeah, so right here, you literally, if you stand in front of my car, you could look. I mean, I think even from the car, you could have seen. It's hard because, of course, the house is gone. But I think it would have been high enough that you could have seen lights on the top floor. So that was part of the argument, right? Is the killer sat behind here, waited for the lights to go off, so knew that they were going to bed for the night, and then came into the house. And yeah, you could do that from this vantage point.
We've seen the lot where the house has been torn down. So let's get out and get strapped up and walk the dogs.
Are we walking the dogs?
We're not gonna walk the dogs.
Okay. I didn't.
I don't know what the fuck I'm doing.
Yeah, what's that? I got two
Murphy?
chihuahuas. We got two chihuahuas. My theory was that we'd walk the dogs and it would be just like an old couple walking their dogs and nobody would think twice of it. But then I decided that the dogs are going to be too much of a hassle and tried to record, so I left the dogs in the car. I do block out a second of video because I don't want to show my license plate. So when it goes dark, that's all I'm doing.
They've got a dog out here.
So there's that house I was telling you about at night that I said you can see a house. That house overlooks those girls' apartments. It's kind of angled to aim right at. This person could look in their windows. And there's a dog here that's running around. You can't see it very well, but there's a dog right there. That's a good dog. He barks.
There's a dog out here. For those who are thinking that Murphy is the only dog in the neighborhood, there's a dog right there that could have been barking, especially if somebody was approaching the house. Now, whether that's the same dog that was here 3 years ago, we don't know. We're also going to look right here at the back of the property. Huh?
You left your keys at the hotel.
Did I really? You think so? So this slope right here is the slope down into the house. It's easy to walk down from here, although you would slip on your ass.
So my point here is, I don't know if you can see it, but that's pretty steep and it's covered with autumn leaves. So this is the exact same time of year. That would be slippery for anybody to walk on because you'd slip on those leaves pretty easy. And then of course there was actually snow supposed to be on the ground as well. So this would be a little bit of a treacherous walk. And at night, not saying that this makes the story unbelievable, but I'm just saying it's not an super easy walk. So that's clip one. I've got 4 clips. So just wanted to get your initial reaction on the volume and the take of that daylight footage. What do you think?
Well, I mean, you can just, trying to get down in there will be really, really treacherous.
Yeah.
Like you said, there was snow on the ground. Those leaves would be wet if you weren't wearing the right kind of shoes, hiking boots or something like that, and we all know, if we're going to go with a theory that it could have been, peers of theirs. College kids don't always wear the greatest shoes. I mean, but or even like Molly trying to get down there. I mean, because she is a person who apparently has a lot of health issues with her knees and her back and stuff. So I don't really foresee her traipsing down that kind of terrain. So that's my initial impression of especially looking, and it's so close. So
Yeah, and you know, and from the side by Queen Apartments, you're still kind of at the back of the house, and the slope's a little less. So if you you could go down a little less of a slope, but it's still slippery leaves and stuff like that. And again, it's not saying it didn't happen. It's just it's interesting to put that perspective on it. So I'm going to show another clip, if you guys don't mind, from our teaser today.
Oh,
right in front of us is the Queen Road Apartments. You can go car or foot to the right. Or what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you to that staircase I showed you earlier. We're going to the left, right between these two apartment buildings. And down straight in front of us is the Queen Road Apartments. You can go car or foot to the right. Or what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you to that staircase I showed you earlier. We're going to the left, right between these two apartment buildings. And down a flight of stairs and right into the King Road house. Right into the King Road house from Linda Lane.
All these people are close enough to hear shit going on in that house, and these packed apartments.
Count how many doors.
Yeah.
Wasn't there like 200 plus stab wounds?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Nobody heard it.
What you need.
There's a guy sitting there, and I use my wife as a screen so he doesn't see the camera strapped to my chaps.
Yeah, I was like, that was like the old stuff, right?
Another dog, that must be Murphy barking at me.
There you go. That was the path from Linda Lane Apartments to Queens Road.
Yeah.
Just about.
Turn show.
Yeah, I did. I came across it.
You don't get that vibe when you're watching the stuff, the content. You have no clue how close the stuff is.
Yeah, I'm glad that it translates well on camera. You can see how tight everything is. Okay, this is coming up on the end of the footage here.
Linda Lane Apartments with this retaining wall. Queen Road right here with the walkway we just walked between. This again is the a lower parking lot. You can't drive all the way through to Linda Lane because there's this retaining wall right there that would keep you from driving. So you can walk, no problem, little foot area. We'll look at that one more time at the foot area. So right there is the easy footpath from Linda Lane down into the Queen Apartments. And then you can also drive I don't know if you guys can hear it.
There during this
in the
time?
distance is the Westminster bells.
Yes, yeah, it was pretty chilly, but and you may not hear it very well, but right now in the distance, the Westminster bells are going off, and we're going to time the bells. And this has been a subject of a lot of discussion about the number of bells that chime versus what the clocks or the body cameras put. So we're going to actually, I'm going to play it again. You can hear it in the distance, and we're going to time it. And my wife's going to hold her watch up for a minute. You can actually see what time it is on her watch versus the chimes, which I thought was kind of cool. She didn't even do that on purpose. It just happened.
And then you can also drive.
I'm looking at my watch because I'm like, ooh, bells are going off.
I don't know if you guys can hear it.
You can't.
In the distance is the Westminster bells. Somebody asked me to time the bells. Can you hear it well enough to time them?
403.
Let's time it.
I can hear it.
Oh, here we can hear it better over here. Okay, listen, people, listen. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. There you go, folks. Just like people said, it's one dong off. It went 5 dongs at 4 o'clock, so it just rang 5 times. The bell's ringing 5 times. well after daylight savings time. So is the clock off again? Is it always off? Do they ever change it for daylight savings times? That is a mystery that people have been talking about. I tell you, Rhonda, you have no idea. That whole chime right there is a huge part of the mystery about the timing of this event. People are saying that if you listen to the chimes, it says the wrong time. So just like we showed, it's 4 o'clock here. It should have had 4 bells. It rang 5 times. Right. So it's acting like it's 5 o'clock.
Oh, interesting.
You know, I don't think that that's that uncommon, because I remember, like, I went to UC Riverside, and that was, our bells were always off. Always off. Like, that was just a thing. Like, the bell, you'd like use the bell as like a way to be like, the bells just went off, I'm not late for class. And they're like, yeah, you are. You're still late for class. Everyone has a cell phone, dude. Like, you're late.
Right.
I don't think it's that uncommon for it to be a little off. We weren't like an hour off, but we were off.
Yeah, and it's funny because Rhonda made the point, well, it would be on time because kids rely on the bell. But you're right. Like, I don't know that it's all that big of a thing. And I think part of the reason why people got all bent out of shape on it is because, again, the body-worn camera, there's a famous video of a guy standing there and his time says one thing, but the bells in the distance say something else. But we just kind of proved that's what's happening 3 years later at the same time is the bells are, it's like they don't switch
that's
it.
what you have to point out, because when people say that you always have to compare, is that normal behavior? And if it's doing the same thing 3 years later, then it's not that suspect 3 years ago. But if it's not doing that same thing 3 years later, then why not? Sam, when the time would change, would the clocks at your school, like with the daylight savings, would they update them?
Yeah, they were never an hour off, but they were always just off. Like, it just wasn't the exact time. Yeah. So like the bells would ring, and we would use that to be like, see, we're not late. The bells rang and we're here, but the bell's just ringing. And then the teacher would be like, yeah, well, that's not how this works, dude.
So, again, I got a couple more clips to show, but I wanted to get some of your thoughts and reaction, and people in the audience who are, I think people are saying it translates well. The video translates well. It shows how tight the area is. The Westminster bells was interesting to catch on camera. That was pure luck that happened that way, but it was pretty cool. What do you guys think about that clip there?
Yeah, the bells was really, really good that you were able to catch that. I like the video you got of walking in between the Queen apartments. I mean, it's like really, really tight. Yeah. So it pretty much it makes me feel even more so. I still don't see how a gunshot could go off and that the sound would just travel through there. Ridiculously. So definitely, I don't know, could have been some kind of stun gun or something, whatever, but I just don't see how a gunshot would go off and you wouldn't have you'd have half that apartment would be outside.
Yeah, and it's just, I mean, the bells thing may be a no, never mind in the end, but it was interesting to show that 3 years later those bells are behaving the same way essentially that they did at that time, right? So that in itself speaks enough. It lets you know that that's still going on. It's not a manipulation of camera times and stuff like that in that regard. So I got a couple of more not footage. So that was some teasers of the footage. I've got a good solid 15 minutes of daytime footage that I gave you a couple of snippets out of. So we're going to premiere this entire interview tomorrow with the custody queens, including that whole video. And I'll also post the video by itself so that we're not talking all over the video, because we do talk all over that video. So I'll do an independent 15-minute of just that daytime view for people to look at as well. So if you don't mind terribly much, unless we have some people that want to come up and ask some questions, I'll do some legal discussions between the custody queens and I, if you guys want to hear that. Let's pull that up here. Now I'm going to remove this and add this.
And look at the first judge, judge, right? He retired the day after the case was transferred.
Right.
I mean, literally, I think it was like a day or two early retirement. I'm out.
Yeah.
Okay, that speaks a little bit. And
it does.
There was one comment made by Hitler earlier in the case, and I can't remember exactly what hearing it was, but it was kind of the turning point with me that I really started watching to be more cognizant of objectivity or biasness. And he said something, but they have his DNA at the scene. And I'm assuming it was whether or not evidence was going to be allowed in. And when he made that comment, I was like, you are not supposed to be making that. Like, this is a travel issue.
I want to say what you're talking about is the famous, I quote it all the time. DNA is DNA every day of the week and twice on Sunday. It's like his attitude was, well, this is an open and shut case. His DNA is at the scene.
Because
and like,
your DNA, touch or not.
Right. And
Like,
I thought that was completely inappropriate. Yeah.
I found that to be a turning point where I was really like, okay, if this is up on appeal and I'm an appellate attorney and I'm a team with a bunch of really, really intelligent appellate attorneys, that is one thing that I'm grabbing at. And there's so much that is still redacted. Like, there was a really aggressive in the courtroom argument, and it was about the alternate suspect, and it was with Ann Taylor's associate. What was her name? Kayla? What was her name?
I'm blanking on it too.
Okay, Ann Taylor's associate. I'm having a mind blank right
on
now.
her team. Yeah.
Yeah, but she actually was the one making the argument. And we get the transcripts, but it's 90% of the argument is redacted. But you could tell there's little few words. You can tell that it was about the alternate suspect theory. And you could tell that Hippler and this attorney I think it was Kayla. They were going at it. They were going at it. But it's like, why is that redacted? Why is that redacted?
Right. Like, the entire thing practically was redacted. Like,
right here. Let's talk about it. Be transparent.
Yeah, they're out of Sharpies. There's way too much redaction.
Right.
Yeah.
They're straight up out of Sharpies.
Yeah. That. Sorry, sometimes I don't pay attention to when the video is going to end. That's just a little teaser clip. We got one more teaser clip where I task the girls with the theory. What if Kohberger was just the getaway driver and there was another accomplice? What would that do to the plea deal that says, yes, I did it and I did it alone? If there was an accomplice and maybe Kohberger didn't even go into the house, what would that do to his plea deal? So we talk a little bit about that in this next clip I'm going to play. Do you guys have any comments about this one here? Or? All right.
Not yet.
I'll get right at it and play this next clip. Let's remove this. Let's add this.
Either be someone that's going to come out and say that they had information that they didn't for whatever reason, or they were threatened or whatever it is, or it's going to come out that something exists that was withheld, whether it was intentionally or unintentionally. And I mean, look at where we are today. Look at all these crimes that are being solved from DNA that have been cold cases or wrongful convictions for the last 30, 40 years. I mean, with that Yogurland murders, isn't that crazy that all of a sudden, we realized that the person that was convicted wasn't the person that did it. And because of DNA, we were actually identified.
And I realize you're not criminal murder defense trial lawyers, but I'm going to ask you a legal question to see what you think about this. I stated it before, the plea deal is set set the details. You did this, you did it alone, you went into the house and you did these things. Now we know that accomplice to murder is still punishable by death and all the different things that, just like murder, if it's an accomplice to murder. But if it can be proven, if there's evidence to prove that Kohberger did it with someone else, but his plea deal says, I did it and I did it alone. What happens in that scenario if it comes out that there was somebody else in the house and it factually is incorrect, that he didn't do it the way? Now, he would still have been committed murder, but what does it do to the plea deal?
The way you're saying it, if someone else, if he can prove someone else did it, ultimately we have a whole show coming up on this with our appellate specialist that works with us. But the way you just said it, if there was someone else involved, was I just there?
Right.
Did I do some other part potentially of the crime, but I didn't commit the unalivings?
Right.
Because that's the way, like, if I'm hearing somebody else was there, how do I know that? And did that evidence exist at the time of the plea deal? And if it didn't, why not? But you're getting into the potential causes of action to try to set aside the plea deal.
Right. Like if like I said, and we got to wrap up. I know we're at 2 hours, but if, as I said, one of the first videos I made on Idaho 4 is, what if Brian Kohberger was just a getaway driver? What if he brought somebody to the scene? And what if they know?
I have thoughts about that, or
right?
the cleanup
right? Or the cleanup, right? So what if law enforcement knows?
Who knows?
Yeah. So what if they know Kohberger was there, but they just can't place him as doing the murders, right?
See, and I
Is-
think that is a big possibility.
Yeah, and
But
so
we
so
don't
then
know
the question,
why they know that.
yeah, right, right.
I wonder, I think there might be more to that though, like your hypothetical, because I'm assuming that, and this is an assumption, but I'm assuming that part of Brian's plea, it's his own independent plea agreement. So
Yeah.
this wouldn't exonerate him, right? Like if someone else came around and maybe there's another theory that maybe they could take that other person to trial, and maybe that's kind of a hard play for a jury because they're like, wait, didn't that happen? I'm confused.
Right.
But you would think that it would be his own independent plea. So you would think that and that's the part where I think Ron would be, so it would be a great show, but like he's very good at like, okay, ineffective counsel, that could be a reason to set aside a
People
plea.
think that's bad. It really doesn't mean that Anne did a bad job. Like people think
Right.
that would be like in a personal attack of Anne, but it's not.
Right. But yeah, I think it would need to be more of a conditional plea. I don't think you could aha it by being like, see, I agreed to your wrong facts now, and see, it's these other facts. So now I'm, and I would need to look at the plea more. And I'm certainly not a criminal defense attorney by any means, but I would be kind of shocked if an accomplice, I think that they would be in hot water and they could be charged with a crime, but I would be shocked that would disrupt Brian's, but
Unless he could prove
then
that he
put
wasn't
everyone
the
back
one that
into
did
this
the
like
fighting.
reasonable doubt? Hey, like, is this a miscarriage of justice, or how do we handle it? I don't know.
Well, I mean, I don't want to go crazy with the hypothesis, but if Koberger, let me give you just a scenario. If Koberger drove somebody to the scene that was the killer, and the killer went in and did the killings, and Koberger was supposed to drive them, and maybe he took off and he got panicked. He heard screams and he took off. I know it's a long hypothetical. So he was there, he knows he was there, but he's maintaining all through the trial his factual innocence. The fact is, I never went into the house, and he knows he never went into the house. Now, maybe he was in the car, maybe his transfer DNA got onto the knife sheath of the killer that stepped out of his car, and that's how his DNA got there. So he knows he's partially screwed because he was there and he's an accomplice to murder, but he didn't actually do it. Can he argue, yeah, I'm guilty of something, but I didn't kill anybody. I'm not the one that killed him. I don't know.
Honestly, that's a really good question. We'll have to go over with Ron, but I think if there could be some evidence, and this is me talking out loud, I'm not an appellate attorney or criminal defense, but if there was some evidence that maybe didn't exist at the time the plea was entered that would support the fact that he only did the driving, and that was the extent of it, and there was evidence that supported that he did not commit the unalivings, I think that there's potentially an argument for an appellate attorney to come in and at least do the research about that, because I think that would be pretty heavy.
And couldn't he argue? And couldn't he argue if the killer's still alive, the real killer's still alive, and maybe connected to a big organization like a drug cartel or whatever, maybe he's terrified that snitching is going to get him killed. So it's better for him to shut his mouth and take the plea, because then he'll live. But if he snitches and says, yeah, by the way, here's the guy I drove to the scene that did the killings, they're going to kill him. They're going to kill him inside the prison for snitching on the guy.
I think we should definitely ask Ron all these questions, because I have my opinion, but it's my knee jerk. I'm not a criminal defense attorney in Idaho opinion, and Ron's really good at doing that research. So I'll definitely defer to him on that. But my kind of knee jerk reaction is that when you're entering a plea and you're looking to set it aside, you're looking like, did they voluntarily enter this? Did they do it knowingly? Did they have effective counsel? Is there new evidence that maybe affects their guilt? And it seems like in your scenario, he's like the getaway driver, right? But the accomplice, and I don't know Idaho's laws, but a lot of times the accomplice and the person that is like a co-felon and is committing the murder with someone is also guilty of the murder.
Yes. Right.
So if I'm thinking that through, does that really get him out of it? Like, hey, I didn't actually do it, but I was a co-felon, and I didn't do it, but I was there, and I was in the getaway car, and So then isn't he kind of then back to being a co-felon accomplice to murder, which would then, again, I don't know Idaho state laws. This is just me thinking out loud.
And again, I keep saying I don't want to go too crazy with it, but one other scenario posited. What if somebody said, hey, can you take me by the house? I got to go in and get something of my stuff. Didn't know a murder was going to happen. Here's screams going on inside the house, and peels out and leaves the guy there. And then he's like, I didn't even know what was going to happen. I was delivering a friend to the house to pick up his stuff. Then all of a sudden things went sideways. I mean, there's a million scenarios you can go. And I'm just trying to think, is there any scenario that would come up with that?
No, and I hear you. And it's funny because this is like what law school exams are about. So my answers are all law school approved, you guys. It's not, I'm not a criminal defense attorney in Idaho, but like, so then I think, okay, like, then you obviously, maybe you weren't a co-felon and maybe you showed up and didn't know what happened. But then what happened after? Did you know information and then you lied to law
Why didn't you
enforcement
talk?
about it? And now you have
That's
credibility
right.
issues. And is there another crime that you committed by doing that? Now you're like, you know, maybe you're not a co-conspirator, but you're like an after the fact.
Alibi that hurts him. It's his alibi.
It'd be a super hard sell. Yeah.
But then like to like add to your fact, like, but what if part of that was that you were being threatened?
Right.
And
You're
by
compelled and
and
threatened and
does that have an effect? And you know, I don't know.
That is
Maybe
set aside the
Idaho
plea.
state laws. Maybe it doesn't matter if you were threatened. Maybe you still couldn't have done that. I don't know. But I mean, I think that the point is that I don't think this is over. And I think that the reason that everyone has questions is because there's a lot of concern here. And I think that even if people think he did it, it's hard to stomach that the factual story that's been, you know, played out doesn't match any of the evidence that any of us are looking at. So it's
And
hard
it doesn't
to
even match the
reconcile.
storyline the media is trying to put out.
And I think
So there you go. That's some teaser clips from the Custody Queens and I will air the entire 2-hour and 20-minute interview with the two of them, going through both nighttime footage and daytime footage drives, talking about Kopaka, theories about that. It's really good stuff. We got in a little bit off camera, and I don't want to say too much because I don't know how much off camera was. I'm not sure I would say that on camera kind of thing, but we did get into the discussion about that whole thing we touched on in the end. What if Kohberger was involved in it and knows who see, everybody keeps asking me the question. Well, if somebody else did it, he would have said so by now to save his ass. Not if that's an organization, and if he snitches, he's a dead man. So people haven't thought it through. Like if Kohberger knows that who the killer is, that doesn't mean he's going to just give up the killer, because he's going to get killed in prison for giving up that person. So people need to factor that in. And they're thinking, well, his life is over anyways. He's going to spend the rest of his life in jail. Well, yeah, but isn't the rest of your life in jail better than being stabbed to death and shanked in prison because you snitched? So, you know, what do you guys think?
There's a lot to consider there. Yeah.
Right. Or the other part of that is that he was some kind of CI or working with the FBI to unravel some kind of drug, whatever thing going on in the area. And the whole show, the whole trial, everything is kind of a sham. Everything is a sham. So he doesn't really have a choice but to go along with it.
And I have to say, as a teaser to people, if you know, there were some people in here, I know we don't have a super big crowd, but there's some people who are saying that they really liked that collaboration between the Custody Queens and I. I'm so blessed. You guys, by the way, as my team that helps me with this, we are all so blessed. Like, they literally said, we want to do a regular show with you talking about legal breakdowns and legal analysis, which I feel like I'm not qualified to hang with you guys. You guys are attorneys, but you know, they love the show. They love what we do. They said that, and I'm super competent. And so I think it's going to happen again. We're very excited about doing it again. So if you liked us together, I think you're going to see the Custody Queens and us do some more stuff together. And I'm excited about that. So very, very blessed that our channel's like that.
That's
give
incredible.
Yeah, go ahead.
And just obviously they recognize, you know, your integrity, your knowledge, you know, and the fact that they are so invested in this case, and that they are enjoying running down kind of different scenarios with you. You guys have a very natural flow together. So I am super excited for this video tomorrow.
I'm super excited too. And I asked, I was going to ask them if they could compare, if they had seen anything with Karen Dignifilo and Luigi Mangioni's case that I follow. And they were like, I haven't really been following Luigi's case yet. So she gave me the yet. So like, wouldn't it be kind of cool if I can get the Custody Queen starting to look into Karen Dignifilo's legal fight with Luigi Mangioni in that case? And hell, maybe we'll get him to talk about Lisk. Like, let's see if we can get him to talk about a lot of cases. That'd be super
cool. Have them watch your newest video that you just put out today on the Lisk. I mean, that was amazing. You got to give yourself a little more credit than that. I mean, it was a really, really well done video.
Yeah, I appreciate
Excellent,
that. I mean,
excellent video.
I look at it from this perspective, though. They're attorneys. They don't have a lot of spare time, just like I don't have time to watch
Right.
all the YouTubers out there. Although I think Sam, maybe was it Kristen or Sam? It was Kristen maybe that said she watches a crap ton. Actually, I think both of them watch a crap ton of YouTubers. So yeah, they've actually, they love true crime. So, but maybe they would. In fact, I'm thinking about, this is on the air live to you guys, but that I'm thinking about sending a link to that video to John Ray to say, hey, look, I featured your legal fight in my thing. Although, like, again, I don't know that he has 2 hours to watch it, but maybe he'll have his assistant as research watch the video that we talked about his thing and see what he thinks about that. But
yeah,
hopefully we handled it in a way that he wouldn't be upset about. I know he probably doesn't swear as much as me, and I dropped a few F-bombs in that video, but I'm like, you're an effing liar. Not something John Ray would say, but I would say it.
yeah.
So read the chat, Lee. Read the chat,
Yeah,
Lee. Read the damn
we
chat,
have a
Joe.
special guest with us. Kristen's
Yes.
here.
Oh, do we have Kristen in the chat? Oh, that's so
Yes.
cool. Oh my gosh. It's on my to-do list, Lee. Are you talking about Luigi Mangione? That would be amazing. By the way, you are more than welcome to come up if you have the time. There's a link, or I'll post it in the chat. So if you want to grab that backstage, I'd love to have you up right now and talk about some of that. We just premiered about 4 of the clips of us doing our talk today together. So I'm hopeful that you'll take me up on the offer. But if not, I'll just quit asking you and begging you to come up. Okay, so yeah, it'd be great. It looks like everybody wants you to come up. Look at that. Everybody's throwing you stuff. Come up. But if you don't have time, that's okay as well. But all right. So
she said yes. She said yes.
She's gonna come up. Okay, so let's wait for her to get. Let's wait for. That's awesome. That's amazing. It'd be fantastic to have her up on the show. So, but yeah. So I was super stoked about that whole thing and airing that stuff. I'm sitting at a soccer practice, so I'm a little spectator tonight. But I love the chat. Oh, so maybe she can't get up on things because she's at a.
Okay.
Game, right? Fair enough. Collabs with DA would be epic. See, look at that. We got lots of support for that. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that very, very much. And we'll premiere that tomorrow morning, that whole entire interview. There was a couple of times, by the way, now that if she's listening, where the video froze just shortly. And I'm like, what the hell just happened there? So not 100% free of technical difficulties, but it's pretty good. It's good. It's a good conversation. And like I said, I drug them into talking more probably about legal issues than watching the video. Like originally we were just going to watch some videos together and talk about it. And I ended up kind of like getting into legal discussions, and we had a great time. I did not say yes. I was sitting at my kids at soccer practice. So I guess guys, my reception is super spotty. Yeah, no, understood. So no problem. We'll let you go. But anyways, 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time tomorrow. Now, I'm going to re-air it again after the holidays because in America, of course, we have Thanksgiving. I'm reminded that we have an international audience. So the last time I said, maybe we'll take Thanksgiving off. Everybody's going to be out of town. Like I had like half the Australian audience go, like, we don't celebrate Thanksgiving in Australia, so you can go. Like, oh yeah, we're an international audience. So I might air the premiere of The Custody Queens and I on tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, and then re-air another premiere of it on Monday after the holidays. Everybody's back from their long vacation trips in America. And so again, we're going to try to get them on with me for the premiere. So I don't know if they can do that tomorrow, but we did talk about them doing it at least after the holidays so that we can all be live on the chat and interact with the chat as people are watching that for the first time. So super excited about that. So we haven't had anybody, we haven't had anybody jump on the bandwagon to come up on stage. As you know, because I just covered you guys, I was up till 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning finishing the Lisk video that we did. And so that made me get a late night sleep among other things. And then I woke up and I did the Custody Queens thing and that thing. It was great. Like I said, I thought I'm the one that usually can't shut up. And I got those girls, they got talking and I'm like, well, I want to let you go because you got to go. And they're like, no, we're good. We're going to keep talking. And I'm like, this is awesome. Like, I thought I was like stepping all over their time and they had a great time and kept wanting to go. So, but again, our videos got a little long. So there's lots of stuff in the can. But because of that, I'm not super prepared tonight. So if you guys I know my team watches other channels like Pavarotti and the Idaho 4 and some of those other things, and the Candace Owens. By the way, did you hear in the Charlie Kirk story that Candace Owens is basically stepping down for a while and going off incognito, so to speak, because she's had her life threatened, and she even said that there's going to be an announcement for the White House that it's credible that her life's been threatened by France and shit, that they're trying to shut her up. Like, I don't know if this is like massive theater or if that's really happening, but I got somebody sending me that today.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. So crazy stuff. For those who don't know, I do follow 5 cases. I try to touch on 3 every night. So tonight we've already talked about Lisk quite a bit, and we could still talk about it if you want. We've talked about Idaho 4, and we've talked a little tiny bit about Luigi Mangione. Luigi's, by the way, Luigi has 3 days in a row, I think, of what is it? It's discussing what's going to be allowed at trial, like the evidence, like it's the reliability of evidence, and so those are going to be huge. I still don't know how we don't have a ruling in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania about whether that was a legal arrest or not. It's fundamentally stunning to me that they haven't even determined whether the arrest, which has all of the major pieces of evidence, the supposed gun, the supposed confession letter, the supposed, everything is in an arrest that may be 100% illegal. His Miranda rights weren't read. It's clear his Miranda rights weren't read. All kinds of things went wrong with that arrest, and Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, in my opinion, is still playing the coward and won't rule on it because they know this is one of the biggest cases in America, and they don't want to throw out the biggest case in America by saying, by the way, everything that you just got on him is inadmissible because it was an illegal arrest. So I just feel like they're hiding behind not wanting to be the person who ruins this whole trial. So they're going to proceed in New York with the evidence that we don't even know is going to hold up after we review the arrest. I don't know. For those who haven't followed the case, you're probably very confused, but that's just a really, really sketchy situation I think we're in.
Oh, definitely.
So what do you think? Any hot topics today that I missed when I was all busy and doing shit?
Just we had a good question the other night when you weren't here. We pretty much went into it. That was on Idaho 4, and someone was basically asking about Hunter Johnson when the police showed up on scene. Why did they allow him to walk around the house? So he had a knife in his hand. Is that is that like a normal procedure type of thing or whatnot? And what I could say to that is, there's no 2 situations that are ever going to be the same. What I could say is, I said pretty much. Yes. If you show up to a scene and pretty quick you see that there are people who are murdered, even if forget about even if they were murdered. It's like, say people were assaulted or someone was stabbed, or obviously the main thing is to preserve life, render aid, get EMS on scene as soon as possible. But once it's established that it's 4 homicides and you clear the house, so you have to clear the house. So that definitely is obviously any scene. You don't know, the perpetrators could still be there. They could be hiding. One thing that bothered me immediately was that locked door that went to the boiler room or whatever it was.
Yeah.
I can't. You don't need a warrant to. You don't need a warrant to go in there. That would be considered an exigent circumstance. You have obviously a crime happened here, and you need to ensure your safety as well as anyone else there. It could be a perpetrator hiding or whatnot. But anyway, back to the Hunter Johnson. Yeah, he should not have been allowed to walk around the house holding a knife.
let's talk about that for a
Yeah, go
minute,
ahead.
because to me it's asinine, right?
Yes.
There's no way you could have determined by looking at the bodies and first blush what type of knife did the stabbing. So even if you could have determined this was a stabbing situation, but you can't determine it was a K-bar versus the kitchen knife that Hunter's holding in his hand. How the hell do you not immediately say, drop the fucking knife, get on your knees, put your hands on top of your head, and you secure him while you decide if he's actually the guy that just stabbed everybody? It makes no sense.
Exactly. So he's in the house. He has the knife or whatever. He should have been contained immediately at that moment. What I mentioned the other night, it would have been what's called a stop question, possible frisk. It's called a Terry stop. When the law enforcement, when you have reason to believe that a crime has been committed, is currently being committed, or is about to be committed, either a felony or penal law misdemeanor, you have the authority to hold someone and they are not free to leave. He should have been handcuffed, and just because he's placed in handcuffs does not mean he's under arrest. He would not have to be read his Miranda rights or any of that. Now, if they think that if at that moment they place him in handcuffs, since they're just trying to secure the scene because they don't really know what's going on, they cannot ask him, if they start asking him questions about, well, are you involved with this murder and this, did you have anything to do with this? All of that would be thrown out, because now you have what they basically what we're taught: custody plus interrogation equals Miranda rights. So if he's not free to leave and he's placed in handcuffs, they cannot ask him questions about any of the bodies, anything going on, without reading him his Miranda rights.
What you're saying, by the way, is fundamentally huge. Like,
yes,
if he was ever a suspect, ever for a moment a suspect, they can't question him about the details of the crime and ask him things without informing him.
Correct.
You have the right to remain silent. You're considered a suspect at this point. They never said that. So that means they've immediately ruled him out as being a potential suspect, even though they just walked into a crime scene. They're not sure what's happening. There's dead bodies everywhere. He's holding a knife in his hand, and they've immediately ruled him out as potentially involved in the crime.
Insane. The only thing I saw, which doesn't take away from what they did before. I mean, I know outside the house they made him, I believe, show his hands. I think he showed the front and back of his hands or whatnot, to see if he had any marks. But it's absolutely insane that he's holding a knife and he could possibly be the perpetrator. And they don't, I don't know what kind of training Idaho police, Moscow police does, but that was absolutely ridiculous. If that happened, if that happened here where I work, he would have been put in handcuffs. Yeah. And then you would have gone from there.
And on top of that, let's talk again about what you said. There's a locked door in that house, which we believe is maybe the HVAC system, right? And as you stated, there's no need for a warrant. And in that moment, that's an active crime scene. You don't know that the killer didn't lock himself behind a closet and he's in the house still. How do you you don't even for a moment think maybe the killer is behind that locked door? You can bust that door open and make sure the house is clear, and you need to, and you don't need a warrant. Yet they didn't do that. And it makes me think to myself, the reason why Hunter wasn't considered a suspect and never questioned, the reason why they didn't separate anybody outside, the reason they didn't bust the door down and clear the house is because they already knew what happened. That's why I'm starting to come to the conclusion they had to have already known what happened. That's why they're not suspicious about what happened. They know that these people aren't involved because they know what happened.
Right. And this is like this isn't that it's you want to call it, policing 101. You have a crime in the house. You have to clear the whole house. You got to clear every room, every closet, every nook and cranny has to be cleared. So absolutely, that would go along with what you just said. Well, they wouldn't have to clear it if they know what happened and it had nothing to do with that.
Yeah, it stinks though. It's either, and here's the thing. I mean, to play devil's advocates, it's a super small town. So is it just a not properly trained police force that they don't understand basic crime scene investigation or crime scene? What do you want to call it when you lock down and you control the scene? Do they not just
frozen
understand
zone. It's called a frozen zone.
Do they? I mean, but you see that they do, right? Because immediately, here's the thing: to play catch-22, somebody comes and says, "Put crime scene up," and they stationed an officer at the door and said, "Keep a log of everybody that comes in and out of the house." Like at some point, somebody got on scene with the wherewithal of how to track the comings and goings of everybody at the scene. But what happened in those early stages? Is it just bad policing?
Well, right. Well, what I took from it, from watching the body camera footage and. Annoying enough with all their redactions and nonsense. To me, it seems like I'm still going by the theory. I do believe that some officers, again, doesn't mean that, I know it's a small town, doesn't necessarily mean, all officers or the whole department. I do think that there was some police, one or two officers, maybe more, were on scene. That would explain the delay in the 911 call. Why would Dylan and Bethany or anyone else not call 911? Well, the police are already there, so there's no reason to call 911. But yet, some of the officers who do come on scene with their body camera footage, I did feel that some of their reaction, it did feel authentic when they, were going into some of the bedrooms. So it's interesting. It's like maybe some officers knew what went on and some did not. It's very possible.
And that's one of the things, the custody queens and I talked about on the show, which was that it's the same thing Joe had said, but we also talked about it on the show that we did together, which is that any one thing you might be able to dismiss, but the number of things that make no sense in this case pile up to the point that you can't start to overlook the why 8 hours for the 911 call when it's in relation to 30 other things that also you can't, like it. If that stood alone, maybe some part of you could be like, okay, you know what, we don't really understand it, but it's the only thing that doesn't make sense in this case. But it's not. There's a million things that do not make sense in this case. So it's crazy. I don't know what to think.
Yeah.
I think I think as they said it tonight, the best is that this isn't over.
And
not by a long
and then the
shot.
other thing, you've already covered this in a prior video, Lee. Lana from Truth and Transparency had a video recently where she was basically covering the Franks hearing, and she goes into a little depth and she shows some of the stuff that involves Ray and whatnot, and it's just I can't sit here and say that Hitler is that someone is not pulling his strings. It's just impossible. The rulings that he gave. I mean, you look at some of the argument that Ann Taylor gave. I mean, it's like some of the arguments that she gave. It's like basically wrapped in a bow. Like it makes no sense to rule against it. And again, I know you mentioned. I think maybe last night on Birdie's show. I'll say again, when you have, you're either prosecution or you're a defense lawyer, and you're pushing through that you have some expert in some field, whether DNA, cell phone data, whatever it is. Okay, you show their credentials and whatnot. That okay, this person is proven that they've worked on this many cases, they have this many studies, or whatever it is, they're accredited to be some kind of expert in this field. It's not up to Hitler or any judge to decide, no, you're not good enough. No, you can't, I'm throwing it out. That's not for Hitler to decide. All what Hitler should have said, okay, of course the prosecution is going to try to throw out Ray. I don't blame them. for trying. You know, you always try. Hitler's answer should have been, okay, well, you get your own expert, or you cross-examine Cy-Ray, and you prove to the jury that he's a conspiracy theorist, that he's nonsense. But it's not for Hitler to say that.
Yeah,
No.
you're right. The first time I heard you say it, I was like, you're 100% right. That's not Hitler's job to make that decision, and yet he did. And you know, as one of the queens said tonight as well, like the moment that Hitler said, "Well, don't they have DNA?" Like that prejudiced this entire trial. Like your judge is already basically saying, "Well, why are we having this trial? They got DNA. Like this is a dumb thing." Like you've already set the precedent that he must be guilty, because even the judge is like, "Well, they got DNA. Like why are we having this trial?"
Right.
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 I mean, he acted like he was both the jury and the prosecution. I mean, you know,
Well, he was a
Yeah.
former
like,
prosecutor, so I
I
mean, that's his,
right.
that's what he
That's
thinks.
what I mean. You know.
Yeah, it's well, you know, and it's frustrating because we can piss and moan all day long as we are, and what at the end of the day, like I'm waiting for something to happen. You know, I'm waiting. Cy-Ray, unleash the dog. Let Cy-Ray talk about what he knows.
And
they've got him gagged still, so he can't talk about it.
Yeah. And I don't know when they're going to ungag him, because he will.
Well, his key.
He's gotta be furious.
I'll tell you, because I know it was covered. You guys kind of covered it last night to an extent. I guarantee. I bet you, if he ever does get to talk, who knows? I bet you anything that 7 minutes and 24 seconds will have to do exactly with something that Cy-Ray is going to show.
Yeah, it's funny. The Maven here put this comment. Idaho State Police are the only ones that put gloves and shoe covers on. Payne from Moscow Police Department walked in there gloveless, and all the first time in front of the ISP officer who put covers on. Like it again is. I hate to say it, but is the simple answer Moscow Police Department just has no clue how to process a crime scene? Is it just because it's just small town and it's not? I'll guarantee you this: it's not because they haven't had murders in Idaho or in Moscow. So, but I mean, it just I don't understand fundamentally how that happened. Was it gross negligence? Was it on purpose, or were they just poorly trained? And if they're poorly trained, then who do we go after to say you didn't train your officers properly that contaminated the scene? Maybe you need to be held accountable for not, training your officers properly on how to handle a crime scene. Like, I don't know. I want someone's ass. Like, I want some people held accountable.
Well,
but
here's a question. Okay, Payne was military police, right? But when you transfer over, it's not the same being in the military police as it is, quote unquote, regular. So do you have to go through separate training, or do you just get hired and the thinking is that you should know what you're doing already?
No,
it's military.
You should have to go through, because you have to learn whatever the the county, city, state law that you're in.
Okay.
Yeah, and not only that, but I mean, I'm gonna speak outside my wheelhouse because I feel like I'm gonna make an educated guess. Inside the military, it's a military form of justice. It's different than your civilian court system. So they play by different rules. A military courtroom is not the same as our civilian courtroom. So none of that really applies. The policing, the whole, if there was going to be anything on trial in there, would be completely different in a military tribunal versus a courtroom in the United States. So I don't think I don't feel like there's a lot of transfer behind, oh, well, I was an MP, so now I'm qualified to be a cop. Like it doesn't translate like that.
Right.
That's my guess.
Well, no, I just did a little bit of research on the fly. Apparently it says military police do not have to attend a regular police academy, but they do have to attend their own military police academy, of course. So if they want to join a civilian police force, they may be eligible for a waiver. So I wonder if Payne got a waiver.
You'd have to look specifically at Moscow, Idaho, about their hiring.
What they allow and what they don't.
Right. Right.
That's interesting. That's
It is
very
interesting. Look at that
Yeah.
on the fly research. All right, as another shout out, real quick, if anybody, we're not going to stay on terribly much longer. I don't want to just make up shit to talk about. Although this is a great conversation and we could talk about it for a while, but I want to make make an appeal for people to come up and ask a question, make a comment. Take a moment while you have a smaller audience, although the audience is building. We started out real small and now we're kind of up at a decent size, but come up backstage and ask a question. We had really cool panelists last time that were our people, that guests that came up and talked to the panel. We have a smaller panel, yes, but I'd love to have you up. So we'll just give a little bit more time for people to do that. Otherwise, we'll kind of wrap up earlier, because again, I don't want to just ramble just to ramble. Everybody hears me ramble all the time. I've got so much, I have so many videos that you've heard me ramble enough. Let's see. Here we go. We're going to come from Amanda. Military police operate under the Uniform Code of Military Justice, which is different than civilian, state, and local laws and departmental policies. See, that's what I was basically saying. They would. Yeah. I'm glad you used the Uniform Code of Military Justice, because that's what I was trying to think of, because I actually kind of understood that term and I couldn't remember how it was called. So that's what I'm talking about. I think it's a different type of policing, right? Different rules entirely. I don't even know. I don't know what the differences are, but I'm sure there's significant differences. This case bewildered most people. Other cops, prosecutors, lawyers, journalists had something to say because of the terrible way that they handled it. Yeah. The case is a shit show. And yet we're all waiting for that moment, for that other shoe to drop, to see if something happens, if something shakes loose. Was Kohberger playing the long game? Does he know something's going to come out? Is Anne still working? Is there any reason to believe that there's a possibility that Anne's still working on something that she's gonna help shake something loose once whatever happens, when they unleash Ray?
Well, I think I think you touched on something. You said it maybe a week or two ago, and I think it's absolutely correct. Part of the, if we want to believe that, whether if it's not some kind of, CIA, FBI thing with Kohberger, that it's just he was there and he was friends with Kopaka or whoever else, that he didn't actually commit the murders. It's just very interesting to. I just lost my train of thought.
I'm sorry. I'm gonna bail you out by changing topics. This topic, I want to talk about this for a second. So I don't know if she's talking about McDonough or McDonald. McDonough. So I didn't see the glove anywhere. So I think she's talking about, or he or she's talking about, the glove that was found outside the crime scene that had blood on it, remember? And there were people saying that glove wasn't there in the initial sweep of body cam. You don't see the glove. And then all of a sudden this glove appears. Now here's the problem if that's the case. If the glove wasn't there originally and then appeared when a cop walks by and says, oh, look, I found a glove, it doesn't make a terrible lot of sense. You're not going to plant evidence that was never used in the case, right? So what are you suggesting there? Like, if the glove wasn't there and then a cop all of a sudden, quote unquote, finds it, it's as if you're being suspicious. Did a cop suddenly find something that was never there in the first place and therefore it's going to be used? But it wasn't used. In no way, shape, or form was the bloody glove used in this trial. So then it leads you to the question, did we just miss it on the early body cam footage? Was it dropped late? Like, what is the answer to the glove? And we know it was a part of the trial because Ann Taylor made a bitch about it. Like, why did you not test unknown male B on the railing inside the house and unknown male D in the bloody glove outside the house? So we know that it was part of the trial. When did that glove show up? I don't know.
Right. I got my thought back.
Okay. All right.
So what I wanted to say, just make my point quick, was that with the plea that Kohberger gave, is it you made this point a week or two ago, whatever? Is it possible also that this plea bargain was pushed because there is so much, whatever you want to say, corruption, illegal stuff, lying that was done all over the place involving the prosecutors along with police and whatnot, that pushing through the plea bargain basically, all of that goes away. All of it kind of covers it up. That if this case actually went to trial, how much of this would have come to light? How many people would have lost their job? It would have. I think many people would have been on the chopping block.
I want to not completely ignore your question, but I want to continue on the glove thing for a second.
Yes.
Real T says, would it make sense if someone had been one of the first responders when they took their glove off and it just made it into the trash? And I would say no, because the glove was basically a cement mixing type glove. It was a grip type glove. It wasn't a first responder's latex glove, something like that. So I would indicate no, because I don't think the glove is consistent with what first responders wear. And in addition, of course, we see the first responders being told not to even enter the scene. They're basically turned away. The first responders, as far as the EMTs, were turned away and never went to the house. So, but I don't think that's the answer, because I think it's a completely different type of glove. But that's my remembrance of that. If they pick up the glove, why not pick up the panties on the street? I don't know. I mean, the officer felt that there was nothing to follow up on. They literally knocks on the door. Did you see anything weird last night? Well, I mean, the only thing weird I can think about, there was a pair of panties right outside the house after the murders. Oh, okay, thanks. And he leaves. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
That's the way that went down.
That whole thing was just him making show, in my opinion, that, yeah, okay, I did the canvassing, he asked someone one or two questions and didn't press him any further. No, officer, I didn't see or hear anything. And it's like, okay, no specific questions about time frames, about, just very lackadaisical type questioning. Yeah, he wasn't trying too hard to glean information, it didn't seem.
Right. But what's also interesting with that is that as far as I remember looking at the document, Maddie and Kaylee's clothes, there were no panties that were vouchered from them. I'm not saying that the panties in the street are definitely theirs. I'm not saying that. But it is a little suspicious to me that the two people who are dead, 100 feet away, where are their panties? And here's panties in the street.
Right. It's 100%. Why wouldn't you at least follow up on it? Especially when they may not have had panties on, and so therefore I hate to even say it because I got my nuts busted so bad talking about college girls and their panties. But the point being is that it's a dumb question not to ask. It's a dumb question not to ask. How do you not ask the question? You have to rule it out. Nope. And you have to do the research. You have to find out, oh, by the way, we looked into it and we found out a neighbor was doing laundry and they dropped it in the street and it's theirs. And now it's been dismissed as part of the crime. How do you not rule it out? How do you not rule it out? I don't understand that. It makes no sense.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't want to get super creepy about it, but how do you know one of the killers didn't keep it as a trophy and then dropped it on the way out and didn't, like maybe it was a serial killer collecting a trophy and he was going to take it with him and he dropped it in the street, not realize he dropped his trophy in the street. Like, you should be testing that for DNA. How do you know that the killer's DNA isn't on it?
Right. I mean, Maddie's jacket was found outside, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, Amanda has the glove the glove brand. It was a Polar Penguin brand, which I think is kind of like a grippy type work glove as opposed to like a latex type first responder glove. But was my point. And I don't think even law enforcement wears that Polar type of glove either.
No.
According to Emily Alant, underwear in the street was normal. She told Phoenix in her chat that it was common to see panties in the street. People don't bother to pick them up. Now, here's the thing. Here's a funny thing. I have heard the same thing. I talked to a subscriber to this show, and they're like, I had a one-on-one conversation. She was a female, and she said, look, I remember college. Finding panties in the street in a college town is not actually all that uncommon. So fair. That's fair. But that doesn't mean that you can't. You have to still look into it.
It's fair. Outside the house of a it's fair, right? It's fair, but again, when the officer is doing, when he's doing that canvas and the interview, and the guy said, "Is there anything not normal?" And he's like, "Oh, yeah, there were." So, I mean, the guy didn't say Oh yeah,
That's
I saw
little horror
panties,
show.
but I see them all the time. He specifically said it wasn't normal for him to see that. So
100%, because again, the counter to it's a college town, you see it all the time, doesn't coincide with the guy who lives there.
Right.
If that's what he sees all the time, it wouldn't have stood out, but it stood out to him because that's why he said, was there anything that stands out, anything unusual? Well, it was kind of weird. There was panties in the street. That wasn't an everyday occurrence for that guy. So he found it noteworthy. So this person hates the word panties. What should I say? Pantaloons? No. Knickers? Should it be knickers?
Yeah.
Underwear?
Unmentionables.
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 But then you're mentioning it and then word unmentionable. All right. Any other comments, questions? Bloomers. Yeah. I think that's kind of cultural, right? Cultural, maybe. Any other comments before we wrap up? Because we should, again, we don't need to go full 2 hours tonight. The guy said panties in a weird way. That's what people say about me when I say the word. Unmentionables. Any other comments, questions that you want to throw out at the three of us before we wrap up? Again, I just recently did a Long Island serial killer case thing that was a big video. If you have time in your life and you want to get into that case, that was a really good primer for the disappearance of Shannon Gilbert that started the whole discovery of the Gilgo 4 bodies and ultimately to the arrest of Rex Heuermann as the Long Island serial killer. It all starts with Shannon Gilbert. And big news in the Shannon Gilbert case that's going to touch on that case. Again, we talked a little bit Idaho 4. We got the Custody Queens video premiering tomorrow. In fact, when we get done, I'm going to take a small break and then I've got to go edit that video and get it scheduled in the premiere. I've got to make a thumbnail for it and get that scheduled, and I will be awake. No. Oh no. I just now realized I'm getting a tooth extracted at the same time I wanted to premiere the video. 8 o'clock in the morning is when I'm getting my tooth pulled. I can't be on the premiere and getting my tooth pulled at the same time. Huh. I wonder if one of you guys, or Robin, are you? I don't know what we should do. We should either change the premiere, or maybe you can be there for the premiere. I don't know.
Well, I can certainly be there unless you just want to push it back a little bit. But I don't know how much you'll. I don't know
how about I'll premiere it after my tooth extraction. I could be a little loopy. I don't have to talk because I'll be typing on the phone.
Right.
Oh, so who knows what goodness will come out.
I'll change the premiere to be noon Pacific Standard Time, and that should be plenty of time to rip a tooth out of my face, and then come home and get on the premiere. So we'll do that. We'll do the premiere.
What I'd like to jump in, just I know that there is a lot of people who are still obsessed with the Idaho 4, and I understand that, and we probably will for. They keep dropping documents and whatnot. But for those of you who really want an interesting case that has some very much similarities to Idaho 4, it definitely would be the Lisk case. Yep. And it starts right there with the 911 call. The 911 call is a huge, huge part of Idaho 4, and it's a huge part of the Lisk case. There's a lot of similarities. Obviously, the cases are different. The Lisk case has a whole, sexual thing and bunch of other stuff, but the police corruption, all kinds of things. But the 911 call is huge in the Lisk case. Yeah. So those of you who want something interesting, and I just to mention quick, I mentioned the other night. I know someone had thanked us. If you just want to get kind of up to speed a little bit more on what is Lisk, what is that, the Long Island serial killer. There is Gone Girls and Lost Girls. Yeah. The 2 shows on documentaries on Netflix, I believe, and maybe some other ones as well. But you could start there, and then you'll be rolling. You'll know enough to dive in.
I do want to talk a little bit, just briefly before we exit, about that 911 call that we listened to. I will say this.
Man, that's crazy.
There's one way of listening to it that the Suffolk County Police Department is going to say, which is that, look, Shannon was very calm. There's no distress in her voice. they'll argue she was probably on drugs. She was having some kind of episode. And there's something that people need to understand. Even if she was on drugs, which could explain perhaps the way that she's talking, where she's just kind of casually saying, there's someone after me. There's someone after me. And she's repeating herself. It sounds a little odd to sometimes, but you need to keep in mind, there's a blood-curdling scream in that whole thing. She's telling you over and over again, they're trying to kill me. Why are you trying to kill me? Why are you doing this? Stop it. And there's a struggle. You hear a struggle. No matter how dull you think her senses sound, listen to what she's saying. They're trying to kill me. They're trying to kill me. She screams a very very difficult scream to listen to. She is running for her life and pounding on doors. They're going to try and chalk that up to she's just on drugs and having an episode. And yet she mysteriously ends up dead in a marsh. And they're just saying, hey, coincidental that she just happened to be saying someone's trying to kill her and she ends up dead in a marsh. That was just her just freaking out. It is.
You hear her running on the street. You hear her running. She's basically running for her life. How they could say, oh, she's calm and collected, nothing to see here. Like what? No. Did they hear a different 911 tape?
And as a teaser, for those who haven't watched the video, I have in my 2-hour video thing the full 911 tape, but including like a 7-minute clip of Gus Coletti, who claims Shannon came to his door, he let her in. He told her that he's called the police and that the police are on the way, and then she freaks out and leaves. That is not at all consistent with the 911
my God.
call. She never goes into the house. He never tells her that he called 911. No. The whole thing's a lie. It does not consistent with the 911 call.
Sin. That guy is guilty as sin. He's covering for Hackett. Like if I ever saw someone cover for a friend, unbelievable.
Yeah. Yeah. Good stuff. Well, not good stuff in the sense that it's depressing that it happened and that they're covering it up. Yeah. But good stuff if you want to get to the bottom of what happened and we put pressure on them to answer some questions, because there's some damn questions in that case. All right. Well, any last minute parting thoughts before we close down to guys for the day?
No.
Thank you for, for my tireless team, literally tireless. I think one's a vampire and never fucking sleeps. And that guy's always up all day long, every day. And Robin is always freaking working. And I keep having to remind you guys, I can't even pay you guys. You guys work so freaking much for the show. But
hey, especially someone who's into Lisk, just being able to be a part of this, I mean, that alone, but then all the cases that you cover, I mean, you got 5 cases going on and, rotating them depending on what's going on at the moment. So no, I'm just happy to be a part of it and can't thank everyone for out there for their support. We couldn't do this without you. And
same
guys
here.
Are just the best, so.
Yeah, we really have a great team. I mean, even the other, you mention them all the time, but all the people who help backstage too, who maybe they don't come on the panel, but Amanda, Penny, Cat Farm, everyone. It's like it's a really great team that we have.
Yep.
Yes, it's a fantastic team, and we've got a great thing going on. So.
Yeah,
I think
one thing I did want to mention real quick, Marie with her Luigi stuff, she's always dropping documents for us over on Discord, which reminds me, please join us on Discord. There's all kinds of stuff going on there, throughout, at all times of the day and night. So we'd love to have you.
Yeah, and please check out my website, devilsadvocates.info, where I have interactive timelines on all the cases that I follow. While the timelines are missing a crap ton, I have so much information to put on that table. Like that table will start blowing up very quickly. I've got tons of data to put in it. It's just literally tedious work. It's copy paste work to put it in the table in the proper place. But the data is there. We know a lot more about those cases that's on the table. That table is going to get enormous, and it's going to be super useful for you as a resource in the future when you're trying to find out, wait, did this happen before or after this? The table will lay out exactly when things happened, what the source is, and links oftentimes to the news source or the video, even links to some of my own videos and where I talk about it at length. So it's going to be a great resource. Start to get used to it. I encourage you to do so. Shameless plug for my own website. And I think it's going to be something everybody will like in the long run. Do you think you might
definitely.
cover, listen to this. Do you think you might cover the judge in Kentucky? If we're talking about the judge, Mullins, that was shot in Kentucky by the sheriff, we are covering that. That's Mickey Stein's case, shooting Judge Mullins, and is that what you're talking about, that case? Because I am covering that case. We haven't talked about it a whole lot, but I have videos. I have a playlist with that stuff, and I cover it. It's one of my main cases. So if that's the one you're talking about, yes, that has devil's advocates written all over it. Again, another case with possible police corruption, district attorney corruption, judges corruptions. It could go all the way up the food chain. That's got a potential huge upside for me on all the stuff that I chomp at the bit to expose. So, all right.
Yeah.
I think that's it. I think that's it, guys.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And it sounds like KS Jess and Art said that's exactly the case she's talking about. And that is a case that I'm following. So yes, if you are interested, go to my playlist and watch some of the videos on that case. I've already started some playlist videos on that, and I've got a website and a table and stuff like that. So it's right up, it's featured. It's just one of those cases that keeps taking a backseat to all the breaking Idaho 4 and Lisk stuff that's coming out. And now Luigi Mangioni's got brand new stuff coming out. So it's a lot to juggle 5 cases, but we try to at least keep 3 of them touched on every single night. So there we go. All right. That's it, everybody. Have a great night. Thank you, team, for coming again. The advocates, if you will, and the denizens we call our den. Thank you all for being here, and have a great evening.